Okay, so you've shared some really interesting sources with us today, all focusing on, well, a topic that keeps coming up, social engineering.
He does,
We
yeah.
thought we'd do a bit of a deep dive, kind of a quick guide to get everyone up to speed on a tactic that's honestly hitting us everywhere, personally, professionally.
Absolutely. And drawing from those FinCrime intelligence pieces you mentioned, it really boils down to psychological manipulation.
Right.
It's how attackers trick people. Could be anyone, you at home, an employee, into giving up sensitive
I'm
info.
talking passwords, personal details.
Yeah, login credentials, bits of personal data, sometimes, straight up financial details. The trick is it gets around the tech defenses by playing on, well, us, humans, our trust mostly.
So it's less about complex hacking like in the movies,
Less,
and
yeah.
more about getting inside someone's head. And these FinCrime intelligence sources say they tap into some pretty basic human reactions, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it so effective. They know our triggers. The articles point to things like uh, fear, urgency, even just curiosity. Oh, and trust. Definitely trust.
Yeah.
Get one of those going strongly enough, and people they bypass their usual caution.
Okay, and the sources lay out some common ways they do this. Phishing comes up first, which I think, most of us have encountered. Those dodgy emails or messages.
Oh, yeah. Trying to get you to click that link or give up a password.
It feels like they work by just overwhelming you sometimes. Like too much info, scary warnings. It's hard to think straight.
That's part of it, that cognitive overload. Phishing is definitely high volume, cast a wide net.
Mhm.
But then you have things like pretexting, more targeted.
Okay, what's that involve?
That's where they craft a whole believable story, maybe pretending to be IT support or someone from finance.
The fake IT guy. Classic.
Exactly. To trick you into giving up confidential data. It's about creating a convincing scenario for you.
Gotcha. Then there's baiting, offering something tempting.
Right, like a free music download or maybe even leaving a USB stick lying around labeled salaries or something.
Wow, people still fall for the USB stick thing.
Surprisingly often, yeah. That lure of something free or forbidden,
Mhm.
it works. And kind of similar is quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
Offering a service for info, like, I can fix your computer speed if you just give me your login. Fake tech support again, maybe.
Right, playing on that desire for help.
Each tactic hits a different human button.
And it's not just digital stuff, is it? Tailgating gets mentioned. That's physical.
Yeah, super simple. Just following someone authorized into a secure building or room.
Because you feel awkward challenging them, maybe?
Exactly. They exploit politeness or just, people being busy and not noticing.
So it's crucial to get that this isn't just an online threat. The sources stress that, right? In person, over the phone.
Absolutely. It happens everywhere. Think about someone acting like a courier to get past reception, or a fake contractor just wandering the halls.
Okay, so it's this kind of blended environment. And the sources make a really interesting point. All the info we put online actually helps the physical side of things, too.
It really does. The amount of personal data out there, especially on social media, it's a goldmine for criminals.
How so?
Well, they can piece together incredibly detailed profiles. Who you know, where you go, what you like. It makes their impersonations, whether online or in person, way more convincing.
Ah, so they can tailor the pretexting or the bait much more effectively.
With scary precision sometimes, yeah. Based purely on what you've shared publicly.
Okay. So we see the tactics, how they blend online and offline. Let's zoom in on the FinCrime intelligence angle, the link to financial crime itself. How does social engineering make that happen?
Right. This is where you see the really damaging impact. The sources talk a lot about business email compromise, BEC.
BEC, right. Heard of that.
That's where fraudsters pretend to be, say, the CEO or a major supplier. They email an employee, often in finance.
Asking for an urgent payment.
Exactly. Or asking for sensitive documents like payroll info. And it works because, it seems to come from the boss or a trusted partner. There's pressure, urgency, people skip the usual checks.
And it's not just tricking employees inside a company, is it? Financial firms themselves get targeted.
Oh, definitely. Criminals try to manipulate customer service staff, relationship managers. Anyone who can move money or access sensitive customer data is a potential target.
The goal's always the same, though.
Pretty much. Exploit trust, exploit human error, get the money.
So, talking about impact,
Yeah.
what are the actual consequences here? Sounds like it's more than just the lost funds.
Oh, much more. For companies, it can be devastating. You've got the direct financial loss, obviously, but then the costs of dealing with a data breach, maybe regulatory fine,
Reputation damage too, I bet.
huge reputational damage, and losing customer trust. That can hurt for a long, long time.
And a key takeaway from the material seems to be that fundamentally, human error is the weak spot. You can have all the fancy firewalls,
Right. But if someone gets tricked into just handing over the keys, essentially.
then those tech defenses don't mean much.
Exactly. It's a critical point. This isn't just a tech problem, it's a people problem, which is why the defense strategies have to focus on that human element.
Okay, so what are those strategies? What does FinCrime intelligence suggest organizations should be doing?
Well, it's got to be multi-layered. But number one, really, is awareness training.
Educating staff.
Constantly. Regular training on how to spot these manipulation attempts, what the latest scams look like, and how to respond safely. And it can't be a one-off thing.
Needs to be ongoing, right? Because
Yes.
the threats change.
Precisely. Then there are things like phishing simulations,
Sending fake phishing emails internally to see who clicks.
sort of like a fire drill for cyber threats, yeah. It shows where the weaknesses are, who needs more training,
Yeah,
helps build vigilance.
makes sense. What else?
Strong verification procedures are crucial, especially for things like wire transfers or changing account details, mandating a callback to a known number, or requiring two people to sign off.
Adds a human check back into the system.
Exactly. And basic stuff, too, like proper access controls.
Meaning?
Just limiting who can access what systems or data. The principle of least privilege, only give people access to what they absolutely need for their job.
So if one account gets compromised, the damage is limited.
Right. And finally, having a clear incident response plan. If something does happen, everyone knows what to do immediately to contain it.
Okay, that sounds like a solid defensive approach. But the sources also mention things are getting more sophisticated.
Yeah, that's the challenge. The threat landscape doesn't stand still, and AI is becoming a big factor.
How is AI changing things?
Well, think about AI-generated text that sounds perfectly human, or deepfake videos, or voice cloning.
Voice cloning, so they can make it sound exactly like my boss calling.
Potentially, yes. Imagine getting a voice message, sounds just like your CEO, urgent request for a transfer. That's incredibly convincing, much harder to spot than a dodgy email.
That's sobering.
It means attackers can create highly personalized, very believable attacks, and they can do it at scale now. Automation helps them.
So static defenses, like just knowing the old tricks, aren't enough anymore.
Not at all. Individuals, companies, we all need to be constantly learning, constantly adapting our defenses. It's essential now.
And just to hammer home how real this is now, that
Yeah.
trending now section on the FinCrime intelligence site you pointed us to, it lists stuff directly related, doesn't it?
It really does. You see headlines about huge password leaks. Often those passwords come from info-steal or malware,
And how does that get on computers?
often through social engineering. A phishing link, a dodgy download, classic tactics delivering the malware.
Okay.
Then there's AI and financial crime itself, not just for defense, but criminals using it to make their social engineering attacks smarter, harder to detect.
And specific targets, too, like attacks on Apple IDs are mentioned, and worries about biometric data.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how often the initial access for those kinds of attacks comes from, well, tricking someone. Social engineering to get the Apple password, maybe, or to bypass some initial security step before going after biometrics.
Sure, it's often the entry point.
Very often. Plus, you see sophisticated phone scams, tons of fraud on Facebook. It almost always comes back to manipulating trust, using details people share, often online.
So looking at those current trends really shows why digging into these social engineering principles is so important right now.
Exactly. It's not theoretical. These are the tactics behind the threats people are facing every single day. Understanding them is your first line of defense.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. Based on this FinCrime intelligence material, social engineering is this really powerful, constantly changing way manipulators target our basic human psychology. They bypass tech security to get information, access, money. And the impact, especially financially, can be huge. Understanding the techniques, phishing, pretexting, all that, and knowing how things like AI are making it trickier, that's really step one in protecting yourself.
It absolutely is. For you personally and for any organization you're part of.
Yeah.
And maybe the thought to leave you with is this. As AI keeps making these attacks smarter, more personal,
Yeah.
how do we even think about trust anymore? How do our methods for verifying things and people need to change? Not just online, but, in the real world too. It's something we're all going to have to figure out.